Get connected with Take Two Radio on Facebook or Twitter at Take Two Radio. For email updates on future shows, follow at Blog Talk Radio. For previous episodes, upcoming guests, and more, visit Take2Radio.com.
And now, the fastest hour in paranormal talk radio. Welcome to the Malliard Report.
It's the Malliard Report, the Malliard Report. There's paranormal things and so much more. Jim is here to explore. It's the Malliard Report. It's the fastest hour in paranormal talk radio. It's the Malliard Report, the Malliard Report. Here we go.
And now your host, Jim Malliard.
Live exclusively on the KGRA digital broadcasting from Van Buren, Arkansas. That's where my lovely producer Race is from. I'm from Western Pennsylvania, so nobody gets confused. But my guest tonight is Shannon Walbran. Shannon, how are you doing tonight? Or this morning
I'm
for
well,
you?
Jim.
Well, thank you for staying up late. Did you stay up or did you take a nap?
I stayed up and I drank a lot of hot chocolate just to be with you.
Well, I talked to you, what was that? Well, this is where this gets confusing because it was Thursday my time, or anyways, I talked to you, and then you sent me a message that said something has happened since we talked that you wanted to talk about. So let's start there. Let's get the good news out of the way. So what's new?
Great. Thanks for asking. It's a beautiful day in Johannesburg, South Africa, and winter is coming. Actually, we just got the news that there's going to be snow on the mountaintops. So the temperatures are dropping. Our winter is coming in just as your summer's coming in. But what I was really excited to find out today was that I got an invitation to participate, or at least let me clarify, to try out for the International Psychic Challenge, which is a TV show. It's in its 14th season, and it's in Kiev, Ukraine.
I've never heard
Jim.
of that. I've never heard of that, but
You've
it's
never
cool.
heard of
I've heard of Ukraine. I've never heard of the show.
Beautiful,
no, I've heard of
beautiful country.
I've heard of this.
The International Psychic Challenge brings together about 15 different contestants, and it's a Big Brother setup where they compete against each other and against themselves. And the idea of the show is actually very positive. It's to prove to people that psychic abilities do exist. So it's not the other way around where they're trying to prove that people are not doing the right thing.
Well, when this goes to air, we'll have to find it and watch it. I'll have to find it and watch it for you. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'll figure this out.
The last person who won last year was an Australian woman, and apparently the Australian TV networks picked it up and then translated it out of Ukrainian and into English. So if that happens, then I'll do the same thing with my connections in South African TV. And then, I'll forward you the links. I'm super excited. First of all, I'm excited just to get invited to try out. And, I've always wanted there to be some kind of artist residency or some kind of something that we could participate in to show people that what we do is helpful, useful, real. And, wow, I'm just very excited about this opportunity.
Yeah. So the one line, I told you I was jotting notes down when we were talking the other day, and the one line that stuck with me and stayed with me for about 2 days before I got it out of my head, and I figured I'd just ask you about it on the show, is because you wrote a book, but the line that stuck with me is you want to put yourself out of business. Now,
completely, yeah. Just like a doctor would tell people, I don't really want you to get sick, or a dentist would say, brush your teeth. I want people to be able to handle their own psychic messages for themselves, so to get their own messages from their angels and guides so that they stop paying people to be their intermediaries and they start doing this work by themselves. I would rather be out of a job.
See, that leads me to one of my questions. I told you I got a few from people that when they hear that I'm interviewing a psychic, the questions start to seem to flow, and of course you get the standard talk about send me lottery numbers and all this other stuff. But a couple of them kind of struck my eye, and the first one was somebody has a gift, but they can't turn it off, and it starts bothering them. Like they start bothering them around the clock, and it just gets overwhelming for them. So how do you filter this so it doesn't become overwhelming for you?
When I first got my gift, which was when I was 33 in the year 2003, it felt like that. It felt like all the radio stations were on at the same time. It felt kind of like schizophrenia, unfortunately. And I just became a recluse, and I stayed in a cottage, and I lived by myself for about 6 months, and I learned how to meditate. And what I really learned was how to determine which symptoms were my symptoms and which symptoms were other people's symptoms. Because the gift of an empath is that she can feel other people's stuff, like on Star Trek. But the curse is that if you can't figure out what you feel like, then you feel bad all the time. And that's actually what happened to me. So now I know that if I have a stomach ache, it's my stomach ache. If I have a headache, it's my headache. And when I'm working, if I pick up like heart palpitations, then I say to the client, I'm picking up heart palpitations. Is that what you have? And they say, yeah, those are my symptoms.
It's just shocking to me that you could pick up what other people were going through. And see, this is where it gets kind of creepy to me. Not really. I love psychics, and I believe in it all, so don't take that the wrong way. But the other question I got was kind of more of somebody was listening, because I sent your link out, and they were listening to some of your shows, and they were saying that you referred to pain being a message. And that kind of struck them as something that isn't normally thought of, I guess. They didn't really give me a question about it. They were just commenting about that. But I'm going to try to word it as a question. So help me define that for people, because that just seems, like I said, doesn't seem normal.
There are different kinds of pain, and so I'm not saying that all pain is a message, but if you're leading an ordinary life and all of a sudden you have a sharp, sharp pain and you're not sure that it's medical, lie down, take a nap, and see if you're not getting a dream or if you're getting an actual verbal clue from your angels and guides, because sometimes what they're trying to tell you is sit down and listen. And we're just running around trying to catch the train and, going grocery shopping and having way too many things, busy things to do on our list. I just want to refer to the thing we were talking about before about empathy. And Jim, this is the first time you and I have worked together, but I do radio a lot. I do radio all the time.
I caught that when we talked. I was going to say, you do a weekly show down there and you do a monthly show, and you just like talk all the time. You're almost as bad as me.
I listen also sometimes, but my producers notice that I get the clue or the message before the person has asked the question. So the phone rings, I put my hand on my stomach, and I say out loud to the producer, I say children. And then the person gets on the phone and they say, hi, my name is Caroline. And then we say, yes, hi, Caroline, what's your question? And she says, will I ever be able to have children? I've been trying to have kids for like 3 years. So the message comes through to me before she verbalizes it. And you know what that is? I mean, I'm good. I understand that I have talents, but it means that we are guided by things that are outside of us. That's how I interpret it.
So explain it. Explain this to me. How do you get these? You just feel them then, or do you see them?
No, I'm tuning into her angels, and her angels are trying to give me the message before she even asks the question. So, I say out loud, the next question is going to be about love, and then the phone rings, and then the guy says, should I marry my girlfriend? And then he gets a whole list of reasons why he should marry his girlfriend, because she's so honest, she's so reliable, she's supporting him, she's terrific, she's the mother of his child, he should totally marry her. And he says, yes, that's all true. So, but how was I able to know the topic before the phone even rang? And we don't have fancy technology in that particular studio. It's a small radio station. The phone just rings, actually. There's no screen, there's no person who answers the phone before we do. We just pick it up. Jim, what do you think about that?
I think... Sorry, I muted my microphone because I started to cough during the last question.
Oh, my gosh.
Drink.
I was about to panic out.
Oh, poor baby. Yeah. Sorry about that.
So I Thank you, Jim. Thanks for that.
I tried to catch myself before it got worse. And, the technical and the things that people love to hear.
No, that's funny, because before I called you, I had such a scratchy throat, and then I went into the kitchen and made myself some hot tea. But I've got post-nasal drip and a really scratchy throat, and it's only been bothering me for the past hour, and I wonder if it's yours.
Well, you can keep it if it's mine. Now,
I wish I couldn't, but yeah. Is that what your symptom feels like?
No, it just felt like, well, it started probably about an hour ago. Well, Race will tell you last week I was tongue-tied. See, Race, it's a genetic condition. It's not going right.
It's all right. I'm used to it. I do the same thing.
Oh, boy.
But Jim, I'm actually asking you a serious question.
I know
are
you
those
are.
your symptoms? And if so, would you like to ask your guides what to do about this particular little cough that you have going on?
See, I don't feel the nasal drip. It's just been the little dry cough all day.
You don't feel anything in the back of your throat?
No.
Oh, that's where I'm getting it. I wonder if this is going to happen to you like tomorrow. But what they're saying is that they want you to rub Vicks on your feet and wear socks, and that they also want you to inhale some kind of lemon essential oil. Do you have that around? Something lemony?
I have something lemony. I don't have the essential oil, though.
Okay. Yeah. What you've got actually is sinusitis. So it's a sinus irritation. It's more like a hay fever kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's the spring. I call it spring fever because when the flowers start coming out and the pollen and all this fun stuff.
Does that ordinarily bug you?
Changes in the fall. It bugs me again too. So.
Okay. So because I'm talking to you, I'm getting that, unfortunately. But what I can do is I can say, okay, I've given him the message, and so now I don't need to have that set of symptoms anymore, thanks. And then they take it away from me, so it doesn't bother me anymore.
Well, it's good. I'm glad it's that easy for you to get rid of.
Yeah, and I feel for that other person. So that's the practice, identifying what your own symptoms are and then asking people around you, do you have a headache? Do you have a stomach ache? And figuring out who has what.
Yeah, I can't imagine, especially when you go into a grocery store or anywhere there's a lot of people, you just must spin pretty much with different things going around you.
At the beginning I did. Like for about the first year I did, and then I figured out how to work on my boundaries.
So, okay, take me through that, because I like I said, somebody was talking to me about how they're starting to, how do I say this, unleash the gift, so to speak. They're starting to tune into it, and now I've talked to enough people to know that once you start getting it, it comes like a giant flood. It's just not like you get one here and one there. It comes pretty quick once you start understanding how to do it. So how do you I don't want to say protect yourself from it, but how do you protect yourself? Yeah, manage it.
Managing is how I think about it. So I had a lot of energy work done on me by various practitioners. So I went for Reiki, I went for acupuncture, and I went for other things, kinesiology and body talk, and other things like Bach flower remedies and essential oils. And for one thing, I was learning. So I was learning how they treated me. I was learning what they noticed about me. And a lot of people said, your aura, and another word for the aura in the Chinese term is Wei Qi, so it's spelled Qi, Q-I, and the Wei is W-E-I. They would say your aura is too thin. So build up the thin white aura that's around you that protects you from other people's stuff. Secondly, if you notice that somebody is really bugging you or really affecting you, walk away from him and see if you feel better. So they told me that 4 meters, so that's about 12 feet, is about the size of that kind of aura. So if someone's really irritating you, walk away about 12, 20 feet and see if you just feel relaxed and relieved and if you feel better. So those are some things that I tried at first, and they really helped me a lot.
Makes sense to get away from people that are irritating you. I mean, that's just a good rule of thumb for life, let alone.
It is, but then you can test it, huh? You can walk back into their space and see if you start hyperventilating again or if you start feeling sick to your stomach, and then walk away and walk back in. I mean, we're talking about family members. We're talking about people that you can't actually leave. So, or colleagues or bosses or whatever, spouses.
Those are the typical irritants, aren't they? Family, bosses. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
But the beauty of being an empath, the power of it, is that if I say to a client, oh, you have such terrible cramps in your legs. My goodness, how do you even sleep at night? Then she feels heard. She feels better. She says, yes, they are so terrible, aren't they? And I say, yeah, they feel like knives jabbing into my calves. It feels so awful. Luckily, I only have to experience it for about 2 seconds. And then I say, well, you need to eat bananas and molasses and take magnesium tablets, and you're going to feel a lot better in about 10 days. And then she does, and she drops me an email and says that she does feel better, if she does the homework, you know.
Yeah, that's the important thing with anything, is following through with it, because most people...
Sure.
Yeah.
I would also recommend to your friend or to the person who talked to you to read Caroline Myss, because she's such an awesome medical intuitive, and she really gave me a lot of good information too.
Good. So I just got from Brian here. Let's see. When you're doing readings, what's your process for readings? Do you prefer to do them in person or over the phone, or what? How does that work for you?
So speaking of protecting myself, I only work by phone. I pick up extremely clearly by a fixed line, not a cell phone, but a fixed line phone, a home phone. And the people write a list of questions that are specific to them. So if Brian is the client, Brian asks, should I study further, and if so, what? Should I move to Paris? Should I marry this person? Should I buy a new house? What are my talents? What am I good at? What is my purpose on this planet? And any other question that he wants to ask. What's wrong with my foot? What's wrong with my stomach? What can I do about that? And the angels give such immediate, specific, clear answers. And then I check with Brian and I say, does that make sense? Does that make sense? You know, does that relate to you? And he usually says yes. I'm about 85% accurate, I would say. I get in the way a little bit, so I try to not get in the way.
Yeah, that's just like you can't read for yourself, right? Because I hear
Correct.
that from most psychics.
No,
they can't read.
I never can.
Okay.
Yeah, I get vague things. Like, I had the idea that my next boyfriend was going to be of Indian descent and a university professor teaching in economics. Okay, pretty specific. So I look for a new house, and I find a new house, and the guy who sold it to me was an Indian professor of economics.
That's...
So.
Wow.
Yeah. I got the flash, but it was in the wrong category. And he was by no means boyfriend material, you know, he was just a nice guy who sold me the house, and that was it. So that was the transaction that we had. So, yeah, I would say for myself, I'm maybe 20% accurate, which isn't really enough to do much good. It's more like it's a flag. So then when I found out that this house was being sold by that guy, then I knew that this was the right house. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Well, it makes sense. I don't want to say it makes perfect sense. That's kind of mind-blowing. I guess because right. I talked to a few psychics, so my level of rationale with these things, I mean, I've heard enough of it to go, yeah, that makes perfect sense, but I could see a lot of my listeners going, that guy's nuts too. But that's okay. I am.
Yeah.
Where did that question go? Have you? Well, that's not even the question, but this is a new question. I'm just going to go with this one. Have you ever assisted the authorities in South Africa trying to resolve any unsolved cases?
I don't do crime stuff. I really don't. I do personal advice for people going forward. So I'm a little bit more along the lines of a psychic, intuitive life coach. I do help people understand things that have happened to them, like a psychologist. But I can't do, so some people have these strengths that I don't have. I can't do lost animals. I can't do lost objects. And I can never do, will they give me a job? Or will that person, hire me? I can't, because we're talking about somebody else's willpower. And I could say, I can answer the question, should I pursue that position? And the answer is yes, you should, yes, and these are the reasons. And you have a very good chance of getting it. But you know what I mean? I can't do anything about will they. I don't get any information when we ask that kind of question.
So this next question is off where we just were, but I find it interesting. How do you tell if someone is using your energy to read you or gain information about you personally, or trying to just drain your energy completely? How can you tell that? Like put a spell on you?
So is that person asking how Shannon can determine that, or how that person can determine that?
I think how they can determine that, the person asking the question.
Okay. So how can Mary determine if someone is trying to drain her energy? So can we take it like that? Yeah. The answer is, if you immediately feel exhausted in their presence, and if by leaving their presence you feel relieved, they're probably not doing it on purpose. They're probably doing it unconsciously or subconsciously. And so what you can do is you can supercharge your own energy. So if someone can drain you that easily, it means that your battery is low. So please go for a run. Please stop eating sugar for a week. Please take care of yourself. Do some radical self-care along the lines of Oprah. Take a bath, read a magazine, those kinds of things. Make yourself really pumped up in terms of your confidence, and then try re-entering the sphere and see how you feel. But if someone can drain your energy that fast, there's something a little bit on the weak side in terms of you.
That's fascinating, because I don't know how much of this I want to tell publicly. Probably shouldn't tell too much, but I had an instance where somebody they were not a good person spiritually to start with. Let's preference it by saying that. So it they weren't necessarily trying to drain my energy. They were just trying to cause chaos and havoc in my personal life. I think that I'll just leave it at that, because
Jim, that's a sick person. And so for sick people, we can feel sad. We can feel bad for them. We can say, my perspective on if someone is, as you say, off track spiritually, my bigger perspective on that is everything is love, or everything is on its way to being love. So, like a little baby is quite needy and drains his mother's energy and drains his father's energy, costs the household a lot of money, but he actually doesn't know any better, and sometimes he laughs and sometimes he's rewarding to have around. But he's on his way to becoming a full independent member of the family. So I really just think that people who cause chaos, cause a big mess, make a big fuss, are really needy, and sorry about that.
Yeah,
I send them, affection.
Yes, so do I. But at the time, I would not have. But now that I'm removed from it. Anyways, I'm sure you're familiar with this next thing we're going to go to break here. In the car, on the go, don't miss the show. Use the TuneIn Radio app, and you're listening to the Malliard Report on KJRradio.com. And we'll be right back.
Are you looking for some amazing new book reads? Visit TeresaMortimer.com. This award-winning author began writing to hide her own experiences with domestic violence. Her books are well-written and truly come from the heart. That's TeresaMortimer.com. See why her books, The Hide from Death and The Hide from Death 2, are on the top of everyone's list. You can grab a copy from Amazon.com right now for Kindle, hardcover, or paperback, or simply visit the website at TeresaMortimer.com for more info.
Are you a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, or UFO skywatcher? If so, FNGinnovations.com has the product you definitely need in your investigations kit or go bag. Introducing the Morpholite Wide Beam Tactical Flashlights that put the light where you need it most. Traditional flashlights shine a focused round beam with limited line of sight in the dark. Morpholite Tactical Flashlights change all that, utilizing a revolutionary wide beam design to enable you to see safety hazards such as hanging wires and steel, pipes, and holes in the floor you just can't see with a focused round beam. In the field, where safety is paramount, a 180-degree beam increases orientation and peripheral vision in the dark. Morpholite flashlights are ideal for investigations in abandoned facilities such as houses and hospitals, factories, caves, and tunnels. Avoid those low-hanging tree branches that poke your eyes in the woods. Visit FNGinnovations.com to see a full line of tactical lights and accessories. That's FNGinnovations.com.
Hello, I'm Richard Dolan, and I spend most of my time thinking about, writing about, and talking about UFOs. Yes, I know it's a little different, I'll grant you that, but I feel like the luckiest guy in the world because I get to focus my life on something that has fascinated me for 20 years now and has not let go. That's why I want to tell you about something new I've written. It's a fresh reformulation of the entire subject of UFOs. Everything. The sightings, the encounters, the politics, the cover-up, ancient aliens, the bizarre science, disclosure, being critically minded and open-minded in today's world. Frankly, everything that I know, everything that I think is important, everything that I feel is worthy. That's why it's called UFOs for the 21st Century Mind, a fresh guide to an ancient mystery. It's 500 pages, illustrated. It is everything that I could do. Visit my site at richardolanpress.com and learn more.
The new web and mobile advertising company is here. Direct Ad Links lets you advertise on the web your way, with ad options starting at $5 to personalized ad plans tailored to your needs. Direct Ad Links is your source for great return on investment chances. Direct Ad Links, the platform that web and mobile advertisers need. For more information, visit directadlinks.com.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree is the moment I knew that for him,
you can't even see the top of that thing.
Even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent Talk.
Welcome back to the Malliard Report on the Global Radio Alliance, a new knowledge for a new world. I have this wonderful note card, and I read it every week. You think I could read it by now, but anyways, my guest tonight is Shannon Walbran, the South Africa's top psychic. I haven't said that yet. I don't know why I didn't say that. That's I think you are. You might be one of the top psychics in the whole world, so let's not pigeonhole yourself into South Africa.
Thank you, Jim. I didn't know if I could really compare myself to other psychics in the world, but maybe we're going to find that out this year. And I'm doing a lot more work in America. You know, I am originally American. I'm from Minneapolis, but I've lived and traveled in so many different countries that I kind of do feel like that new world citizen, you know?
Yeah, it makes the world, like I always tell people, because I always try to stretch the boundaries of what I can do because of the Internet. I can bring you on from South Africa. A few weeks ago, I had somebody on from India. So I can stretch. And of course, with the technology, some nights, like tonight, it's worked pretty good. Some nights, it just doesn't. So is that
exactly?
Is that concerning to you as a spiritualist, like spiritual type person, though? Because as we can reach around the world, are we losing the connection with each other in spirituality?
I think it's the other way around. I feel so much more connected to, let's take it at a practical level. I've lived in a bunch of different countries ever since I graduated from college. And when I first moved overseas, couldn't even talk to my family, didn't have a phone, no internet, no Skype, nothing. I had to stand in a line to get to a public phone, popping coins into it. You know, it was really, and then it was a fuzzy line. It was impossible to get through. And so I feel so much more connected to them. I can pick up the phone and call my mom every day, and I do. And I love that. I feel connected. And I think that we're living in a very, very special age where, you know, the Akashic Records, the Book of Life, and the things that are supposed to be only available to us when we cross over to the other side are available to us in a certain form right now on Google. There you go. So I believe that we can be guided to find the exact information that we need. For example, I was just reading about the golden Sufis. Have you know the Sufi movement, like the whirling dervishes? Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, the Sufis are a branch of Islam, but just like Judaism has the Kabbalah and Christianity has the Christian mystics, so Islam has something that is called Sufism, S-U-F-I. So I'm reading about it, and there are then branches of that. So I'm reading about the golden Sufis and the wonderful, wonderful teachings that they have. And because it's in a different language, it's something that's so foreign and it seems almost exotic to me. You know, it's like saffron and spice and, oh, wow, it's so different. But you know what? It's exactly the same stuff. It's just presented in a special and different way. So, like, the first teaching is every breath which is exhaled from within must be exhaled with awareness and presence of mind so that the mind does not stray into forgetfulness. Well, I mean, who doesn't say that? You know, you have to pay attention to the breath. That's so Buddhist. And then what about the next one? The next one is, oh, there's another one that I wanted. Safar Dar Watan, the journey home. Number 3, your journey is towards your homeland. Remember that you are traveling from a world of illusion to a world of reality. The wayfarer travels from the world of creation to the world of the Creator. Isn't that just beautiful? It's such a different poetry from what I'm used to in my Judeo-Christian background. You know, I was raised Roman Catholic. But it is the same information. It's just said in a completely different way.
Well, this way makes much more sense, too. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just because you're hand-picking them for me here. Because sometimes that Christian stuff can get a little heavy. Here we go. Let's talk some religion.
It's too familiar. It's loaded with baggage from my childhood, from this good teacher, this bad teacher, you know. And this is, maybe I would meet a good Sufi teacher or a bad Sufi teacher. Maybe I'd like to know a little bit more about Sufism. Unlikely that I'm going to become a Sufi, you know, probably not. But I do love learning about religions, and I've gotten pretty deep into 3 particular religions: Catholicism, Judaism, and Buddhism.
That about covers all of them to some degree, I'd imagine.
I think I could really learn a lot more about shamanism. I could learn much more about working with the plant kingdom. I've done a little bit with hallucinogenics and what we call the wise plants or the teacher plants. So ayahuasca and Salvia divinorum, those are really special plants that did teach me a lot. I worked with them briefly, but I worked in the hands of an experienced shaman.
I see. I forgot all about that line of things. Boy, it's interesting how plants and nature and being in tuned or knowledgeable or even just accepting that everything out there has energy and spirit and yeah. Anyways,
it's kind of like my mansion has many rooms, which is a Christian belief about God, and there are many doors that you can walk through. So even if somebody became a numerologist or an astrologer, you know, they would, if you got deeply into it, that's a way of looking at the world and understanding my connection to it. I have a friend who's studying feng shui right now, and I was like, yeah, feng shui, okay, that's all right. And she said, well, if you think about God as the place, you know, that's one of the Jewish names for God is the place. And then if you rearrange our version of the place, which is my house, you're rearranging your relationship to yourself and to God. So everything can be held at a very high and holy level, or it can be just, I'm moving the couch.
Okay. Does she think the metaphysical connection to divine guides, is there a connection to divine guides, metaphysical connection to divine guides? I'm not following that. Okay, so I'm just going to skip to the next part of the question here. Do you believe in reincarnation or our life's essence being eternal?
Both. So our life essence is eternal, and it never gets wasted. It gets recycled and upcycled and changed, and we have many different experiences. And a kind of know that from my own childhood and my dreams and visions of things and places that I would never have had any exposure to. I mean, when I was a kid in the 70s, we had very limited TV. I didn't have exposure to movies. I didn't have an iPad. And so the ideas that I had, even before I was able to read, indicated to me that I was aware of different realities. And if you talk to little kids and you ask them questions, sometimes they know more than they should, but I don't mean that they shouldn't know it.
Talking about, like, they know things about the past they shouldn't know, or people they shouldn't know, or
even about, like, countries or environments or the way things work, or, the effect of alcohol on a human being. That's something that grown-ups know, and kids don't know that. And I'm not talking about that they picked it up by observation, but comments that children make can reveal that they've had experiences before this birth. So I knew a little kid, he was about 2, and his parents turned to him and said, "Would you like more milk?" And the child, this was one of the kids that didn't have a TV, one of those kinds of families, and he said, Well, pardon me, my dear fellow. I don't think that will suit me at all." And they were like, "What? Where did you get that?"
Where did he get it? Must have made it up in his head. Imaginary friend.
He could have. He could have. But if the question is, what do I believe personally? Certainly I believe in reincarnation. And I even believe that it was taught by Jesus in the story of the blind child and the parents who come and ask Jesus, is it our fault that our kid is blind, or is it his fault? And I think what they're inquiring about was the common knowledge of karma, and whether it was the karma of the child or whether it was the karma of the parents that would bring them a child with these challenges into this life. So it's just one of those other things that we've forgotten about, like we've forgotten how to talk to plants. We've forgotten how to listen to our animals.
It is amazing that some people, when you see somebody talking to a plant, you think they're different. There, I said it nicely. But I think it does help. It helps, make a connection and make you want to water the thing if you have a deeper bond with it than just looking at it and saying, "Nah, I should water that."
Yeah, that's a good step to take.
So, when you say reincarnation, how define that for me? Do we come back as a human every time, or do we come back in different forms, or?
I don't think that I'm an expert on that. I think that what I know is that our energy stays alive before we're born and after we're dead. And so I do believe in the eternal soul. And then what it does is it does what God wants it to do. So some souls become bodhisattvas, which are, in the Buddhist tradition, souls that come back and reincarnate in order to be teachers on the planet again. And some stay in heaven, or what we could call the parallel universes, and they help people invisibly. So some people help visibly, and some people help invisibly. That's what I know.
Well, that's who I'm talking to, so that's what I want to know from you. So I guess my next question, this is kind of a loaded question, so bear with me. Simple, but it's a deep question. So are we alone? Is there aliens, ET, out there somewhere?
If you say, are we alone, my initial answer is not at all. We're surrounded by life force that's manifesting in ways that we can understand, like the plant kingdom, and ways that we can't understand, like things like sylphs. Have you heard of a sylph? It's a cloud being.
No.
Okay, so sylph, S-Y-L-P-H, is an angelic form that comes from clouds. Have you worked with organite at all? Do you know organite?
Nope. You're making me look good tonight. No?
No. I'm just wondering whether we should discuss these things or not. So orgonite is a man-made substance that takes a crystal and produces a pyrite reaction by shrinking the crystal a little bit, by pressurizing the crystal a little bit using fiberglass. So when fiberglass cures, it shrinks a little bit. So if you look on a website like Organize Africa, they spell their organize with an S, Organize Africa, you'll see that the energy that's man-made, like from cell phone towers, TV towers, radio towers, those are negative energies. But we can counteract them with crystals. And when we do, the sky shows us that the sky is happy by making beautiful clouds. So they even have before and after photographs of gifting. Gifting means to donate pieces of organite to cell phone towers. Or, I have one sitting on my Wi-Fi router, a big piece of organite. And it changes the energy, the radiation, from negative to positive. So there's a movement worldwide, the etheric warriors, who are trying to make the earth into a paradise by producing positive energy where negative energy is being generated using organite. And the sky with cloud formations demonstrates it. You know those angel clouds that you see? Well, that's what you see when you put up organite. So it's really obvious. It's a before and after direct effect.
It's amazing. I don't even know what to say to that, but that's not. I mean, we do need to do something with all the man-made energy we're putting out there to counterbalance it. So I'm glad you told me about that.
Well, here's a way, and it's actually really easy. It's really inexpensive, and you can do it at home, and you can start by using it in your own house, and making sure that your cell phone and your Wi-Fi router are protected, and then you move outward. So if there's a cell phone tower next to your kid's school, then you just go chunk. They're like the size of a hockey puck. So you just chunk a couple of hockey pucks underneath the cell phone tower, and voila, you're done.
I could easily do this. I could see myself getting arrested for doing this too, but I could easily do this.
No. It's just like dropping a rock on the ground. You're not doing anything that would be
see
like
me
littering
I just had this
or
vision
whatever.
of me throwing something, Anyways, never mind.
Well, have a look. You know what? You should interview those guys who are making this stuff.
I'll have to try to see if I can hunt somebody down. Sounds fun.
I'm telling you, Organize Africa. The guy's name is Georg Ritschl. He's a really nice guy.
Okay,
you'll
have to send me that because I'll forget. I tried to scribble it down, but I probably misspelled something in there anyway. So I know my luck. Okay, so I got a tweet here. Could I ask you about splitting souls or trading energy before reincarnating? Splitting souls.
I don't think that this is really my area. I think you should talk to somebody who's a specialist in reincarnation.
I'm just fascinated by splitting souls and reconnecting them. I don't know. I guess that's where he's headed too, because he knows. But
I get that's quite mysterious. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be hard to even be an expert in it. I can't imagine knowing too much about it definitively. But
I'm sure there are people who are experts in that. Even Sherry Dillard is an expert in that.
It's a whole new can of worms for me. I believe in the talking, getting information from sources that you can't see, but reincarnation's kind of, I don't want to say new to me. I mean, obviously been talking about this for a while, but the nuts and bolts of it all is kind of new to me. So, anyways, so you talk about...
For me, it's kind of like I don't really need to know how the airplane flies. I just get in the airplane.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at some of the times, because sometimes you get kind of deep into spatial mechanics and other realms and all this other stuff. And it's like, I really don't want to know too much. My head starts to hurt after a while. So you talk about angels and guides a lot. So how can we go about determining like the first one? Or how can we reach out and ask for input from them?
That is such a good question, and that's really my main purpose on Earth, is to help people connect with their angels and guides. So this is my favorite topic that you've just hit on right now. And so the first thing that I ask people to do is to look at which of their 5 senses is the strongest. So do you have a very strong sense of smell? Do you have really good eyes? Do you have really good ears? Are you very sensitive to touch? and or do you taste things? Are you a foodie? Can you tell the difference between this black pepper and this pink pepper? And then ask God, just go straight to the big boss, please enhance my 5 senses in order for me to develop my 6th sense. So if someone has a very strong sense of smell, and I write about this in my book. So my book is called Guided, How to Communicate with Your Spirit Guides, and it's available on Kindle and Audible. So I sat down and I read the book in a recording studio. It took me 5 hours. And those things are, even on Audible, it's free these days, So you can get it for free on Audible and for very cheap on Kindle. And so someone who has a good sense of smell and is the one that you always say, is this milk still good, that person. Then you ask the divine to lead you in every situation by your nose, to lead you by your nose. So if I'm signing up to do this radio program with you, I meditate for about 10 seconds only. It can be very quick. And I smell perfume, and I smell incense, and I smell chocolate, and I smell grass from outside. Great, everything's good. I'm going to sign up and do this program with you. If I smell the opposite, then I put myself on hold. I say, I'm not sure, and then I wait a few hours, and then I sit down and I ask the same question again, and I wait for these tiny, tiny molecules of scent to come to me, and those, I believe, are guided. So if it's a sense of, they're telling me, you, Jim, okay, now you know that I don't know you, but they're telling me that your best sense is the sense of touch. So I'm going to ask you, are you really sensitive to like scratchy sweaters and the label at the back of your shirt? Do those things kind of bug you?
The label at the back of my shirt, definitely. I've removed a ton of them. I don't know if I have a shirt that has one in it still.
Okay.
Matter of fact.
So I just want you to tell your listeners that you didn't tell me that before this show. Like you and I only had a brief chat, and we didn't talk about anything like that.
Yeah, we talked about 20 minutes the other day, and this definitely did not come up because, well, why would it? So.
I guess so. So your angels are telling me to tell you that for you it's tactile. So even as a kid, you were somewhat tactile defensive, which is on the sensory processing disorder spectrum, not too badly, like maybe 10 to 20%. And so if you are having a conversation with, a sponsor or with a new interviewee and you're deciding whether to have her on your show, listen to your body and feel like, do your socks feel too tight? Do these jeans suddenly feel like they weren't put in with fabric softener, Do you start to feel too hot and uncomfortable? That is a bad sign for you. But if you're feeling at ease, if you feel like there's a breeze coming through the window, everything's okay, then go ahead, book the speaker.
Yeah, there have been times that I've just, when I got an email, I just deleted it because it just didn't look right or just didn't feel, I guess feel right is the word. And I don't know how you'd feel from it just looking at an email. I just no, it's not, nope. So.
Okay, I trust that you're using your intuition, and that's fine. This is one step further into tuning into the one of your 5 senses that's leading you to your 6th sense. So I'm going to ask you to practice this if you want to. The next time you open your emails tomorrow morning, you're going to feel your body inside of your shirt as you look through each email. And you're going to say, I feel good, I feel bad, I feel good, I feel bad. As if you're feeling whether this shirt is the right shirt for you to wear. It's the same shirt.
Right.
You following me?
I'm following you, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so give it a bash and see if it works.
I will. I'll let you know.
You can do it at the same, if you're looking for a new apartment, if you're looking for a new school for your kids or whatever, try that.
Yeah, because sometimes I just get that gut feeling and I just know. I don't know. I can't put any more words to it than that. And there's probably somebody listening that has sent me those emails and they haven't got a guest request, and he's like, they didn't even bother reading it. He just deleted it. Well, anyways, it's true. There, I told you the truth. Before we forget, where can people find you? You mentioned your book. You said it was on Audible and
it's
Amazon,
on Audible and Kindle. Because your audience is mostly American, although some of them are international. So those are 2 ways that you can get my book. And the book is about how can you develop your own techniques to talk to your own angels and guides. And then it has some autobiography about me that helps understand how I stumbled along my path. So that's why people find it pretty helpful. And I do sessions, one-on-one sessions by phone and by Skype, and it's all under my name. And my name is Shannon, the Irish spelling, Shannon, and my last name is Walbran, WALBRAN.com. That's where you find me.
And you're redoing your site because you scared me the other day. Like, I hadn't been there in months, and I go over there and I'm like, "What's different?" I couldn't put my finger on it. You told me you had new pictures.
I just update my photos because I'm looking so nice these days. I got my hair done, so I needed new photos. And I'm going to Ukraine, right, to win the International Psychic Challenge. So I have to look good.
Yeah, people tell me I don't post enough pictures of me myself. I don't quite understand that, but can't please everyone.
They want to connect with you, So the two countries in the world that are really interested in the work that you're doing are Norway and Japan right now.
Huh.
And so establishing yourself and getting some kind of connection, even like one or two followers or people who listen to you who are in Japan or who are in Norway, that's highly advisable for you.
I will have to pursue that.
You can, or else you can just ask for it and see what happens. I'd like to leave your listeners with one really big technique that's been working for me lately, which is to ask the question out loud, why am I so lucky? Can you say that to me, Jim?
Why am I so lucky? I like that.
Fantastic. So when you do that, you're not saying an affirmation, which is, I'm so lucky, I'm so lucky, I'm so lucky. Because your internal self can get into an argument with you and say, you're not so lucky. Look at you. You didn't get a parking place, and you haven't paid your electricity bill, and you forgot that thing that you were supposed to do. Okay, so rather say instead, why am I so lucky? And then have your subconscious run out and prove to you why you're so lucky. Why am I so lucky? Why am I so lucky? And then all of a sudden. So I went to buy a shelf at a toy store that was closing, and I got there last, and she said, yeah, you can buy the shelf. It was kind of cool. It was like well made. And I said, great, here's the money. Thanks so much. I'm going to load it into my car. And she said, no, you didn't understand. You're the last one to show up. You can take everything. So this was yesterday. So I took all of these shelves and bookshelves and cases and bookcases and all these kind of strange fittings, like shop fittings for the toy shop, and they are going to be perfect for my apartment, which I just moved into last week.
Thank you. Next on KGRA, more Riot Radio with Jimmy Church and Fade to Black. Thank you for listening to the Malliard Report, airing exclusively live on KGRradio.com, the Global Radio Alliance. To email me, Facebook me, Twitter me, or anything else you need to do, visit italkparanormal.com. Big thanks to my producer, Race Hobbs, the staff of the KGRA, the other fine hosts of the KGRA, all the members, and everybody that took time to listen tonight. Thank you, and keep quacking.
Well, before we flip that on-air sign to the off position, a quick reminder. For all things about the report, previews, and reviews, go to italkparanormal.com.
It's the Malliard Report. Yeah, the Malliard Report. The paranormal talk radio show with Jim Malliard as your host. See what lies beneath any paranormal activity. Go inside a world that others don't want to see. It's the Malliard Report. Yeah, the Malliard Report.
That's italkparanormal.com.